Alright, it's time for the solutions for the systems of inequality word problems. So don't fret over these ones, just read really carefully and then write out your inequalities. Like on number 1, you actually have to write one inequality, and that's all it requires. The tickets cost $5 per person or $8 per couple. They need to cover at least $1,200 worth of tickets. So if X is the number of $5 tickets and Y is the number of $8 tickets, you can take X, the number of $5 tickets, and times it by 5 to get the cost of selling, at least the money made from selling $5 tickets, and add the money made from selling $8 tickets, and that total needs to be at least 1,200, so greater than or equal to 1,200. And that gives me my first and only inequality. If I want to get the x-intercept, you just need to take this 1,200 and divide by the number that's in front of x, because at the x-intercept, y is 0. So if I take 1,200 and divide by 5, that's going to give me 240. So that's going to be my x-intercept. If I take the 1,200 and divide by what's in front of the y, the 8, that'll give me my y-intercept. So if I take 1,200 and divide by 8, that'll give me 150, which is going to be my y-intercept. Here, let me write this 240 a little bit better, so it's not as crummy. That didn't help. 240. So now that I have my two intercepts, the next part says to graph it on the coordinate plane and shade the solution area. Just put points at those. Just put points in those specific spots, and you can have 2 points, and you can draw your line with that. This says greater than or equal to, so I can just have that be a solid line. So my first point is going to be at 240 for my x-intercept, which is right here. And the other one is 150, which is about here. And I can do a solid line to connect those, just like that. And we need to get something bigger than or equal to. Bigger than or equal to is that way. So we're going to shade this whole region here is part of our solution. So there we go, just like that. There's our answer region. Just kidding, we don't need to move on. So we did that, you need to figure out which of these is a possible solution to the inequality. Well, just take each point and see if it lands within the shaded region, the solution area. So 160, 40. 160, 40 is right there. That's not inside. 40, 160 is actually right here. So that is a solution, B. 80, 80. Well, 80, 80 is right here. That's not in the solution area. And then 120, 40, 120, 40 right there. Not part of the solution. So just B. Moving on to 2. Hopefully you read through this one and you are sure what X and Y stand for. X is how long spent babysitting, and then Y is how long spent bagging groceries. My first inequality is going to come from this, where you can work no more than 20 hours a week. So whatever my inequality is, it needs to be less than or equal to 20. Well, the hours are made up of X and Y. So here we'll have X and Y. And those themselves are just hours spent working. And so we don't need to multiply by anything to get the number of hours. X is the number of hours, and Y is the number of hours working those two different jobs. And so that's my whole inequality. My other inequality says I need to earn at least $120. At least would be greater than or equal to 120. But the hours don't tell me alone how much money you're making. You have to take how long you spent babysitting and times that by 10 to get the wages from babysitting. You also have to take how much you get paid per hour bagging groceries, which is 8, and times that by how long you spent bagging groceries, the Y, and that gives you the total wages from that. So now I have my two inequalities. If I want to get my X and Y intercept for my first one, I just need to take the 20 hours and divide by the numbers in front of the x and y, which are both 1. And so my x and y intercepts are both going to be 20, because 20 divided by 1 is 20. On the next one, I need to take 120 and divide by the numbers in front of the x and the y. The number in front of x is 10, so that gives me a y-intercept of 20. And then for the y part, 120 divided by 8, and I'll particularly have that memorized. Let's see, 120 divided by 8 is going to be 15. So that's my y-intercept. So now I have my intercepts and my inequalities. I'm ready to graph these. I'm going to graph the first one, where both of my x and y intercepts are 20. So there's 20, there's 20, and I need to have it can be equal to, and so I'm going to have a solid line connecting these, if I can actually draw a line that's going where it's supposed to. And it says less than or equal to, so I'm going to shade the less than portion, which is down here. And I'm going to graph the other one in a different color. I'll graph this one here in blue. The x-intercept for that was 12. And the y-intercept for that was 15. So now I have my x and y-intercept. I can draw my line. This one also is going to be blue. I mean, not blue, solid, because it can equal that. But this one says greater than, which means I need to shade the opposite direction. And since right here between them is double shaded, that's where the answer region is. So I'm going to make that part a little bit darker, just like so. And that one's good to go. Let's move on to 3. Read through that one, make sure you know what's going on. My two inequalities are just going to come from here, where she can spend no more than $100, and she wants to buy at least 5 plants. Well, if you want at least 5 plants, you want greater than or equal to 5. And y is just the number of plants. And so all I have to put there is y. Bags of soil have nothing to do with that first statement. The other statement, though, not wanting to spend more than $100, means you need to spend less than or equal to $100. And that money is made up with the plants and the bags of soil. Each plant was $10, so you have to do 10 times y. And each bag of soil is $4, so you have to do 4 times x. And that gives me my whole inequality there. The cost of soil, the cost of plants, the total needs to be less than or equal to 100. So my first inequality there, I need y greater than or equal to 5. Well, that means the y-intercept is going to be 5. But it doesn't actually cross the x-axis, and so there is no or none of a x-intercept for that one. If you want to get the x and y-intercept for your second inequality, just take 100 and divide by 4, the number in front of x, to get the x-intercept, which is 25. Or you can take 100 and divide by 10, which is the number in front of y, to get the y-intercept. That's 10. And now I have my intercepts and my inequalities. I'm ready to graph them. I'm going to graph my first one in red. That has a y value of 5, and it can be equal to 5. So this entire line here, it's horizontal, is y equals 5. And it says it needs to be greater than, so I'm going to shade up above. I'm going to do my slanted shading just so it's a little bit easier to see. So it looks like this, and it's wonderful. And I'm going to graph my other one in blue that had a y-intercept of 10 and an x-intercept of 25. And this one it can be equal to, so I'm going to do a solid line, just like so. Put arrows on the end, and this says less than, so I'm going to shade down below my line here. And I have this lovely triangular region here that got double shaded. So that's my solution space. Just like so. And let's look at these options here at the bottom for part D. And I just realized I forgot to do that in number 2. But we'll look at them in just a little bit. So looking at these points here, look at the point 20 comma 3. Well, 20 and 3 is right here. That's not part of my solution space, so that one's not it. Let's look at 6, 8. 6 and then 8 is looking like right there. That one's really, really close. I might have just graphed it a little bit off. But it's not inside, so I'm not going to do that one. The next one is 0, 4, which is right here. That is not part of my solution space. And the next one is 12, 5. So 12, 5 is actually right here. And if you look at that part, that's actually where those two lines should have met, right there, which is actually kind of a pain to see. And if you were to check those numbers, put 12 in for X and 5 in for Y, you'd get exactly $100, and that is at least 5 plants. So that's going to give me my answer for D on that section. And on my number 2, which I forgot to do, you just take each of these and see if they're part of your solution space. 12, 6 is actually right there, and that's part of my solution space. 0, 13 is below that, so that's not going to be part of my solution space. 18, 4, that one's over here, that's not part of my solution space. And then 24, 10, that's not even close, that's like all the way over here, somewhere, right here-ish, which is not part of my solution space. So on 2, you'd have A for your last one, and then on 3, D is part of your ending solution there. And we're going to use another video for 4.